A Werewolf Shifter Romance, written by Lily Robert. Prologue. There comes a time in every parent's life when their child inevitably asks for a pet. It's as unavoidable as skinned knees and bedtime negotiations. Most parents get off easy. Their kids want hamsters that roll around in plastic balls or cats that sleep 20 hours a day. Maybe, if they're ambitious, a puppy that chews a few shoes before learning to fetch slippers. Quinn's kid wants a wolf. Not a dog that looks like a wolf. Not a hybrid with just enough wild DNA to seem exotic. An actual predatory, possibly rabid wolf pup he's somehow convinced to follow him home. She should say no, obviously. What kind of mother lets her 10-year-old keep an apex predator as a pet? The kind whose son hasn't smiled in months. And the kind who has no way of knowing that the wolf is actually a 9-year-old little girl. In her defense, Quinn was too busy worrying about fleas and ticks. What she should have been worrying about is the girl's father. An alpha whose blood runs cold at the thought of a human touching his precious daughter, a father who is tracking her scent across miles of wilderness, straight to Quinn's front door. A man prepared to tear down walls, break bones, and unleash hell itself to reclaim what's his. Chapter 1. Quinn. Please, Mommy, can we keep it? Quinn stares into her son's hopeful eyes as he cradles the furry creature to his chest. The puppy is suspiciously still, watching her with almost pleading eyes. He's so well behaved, Mom, Jeremy argues, his voice rising with enthusiasm for the first time since they moved to Pine Haven 3 months ago. Look, he's super obedient and quiet and won't bother the guests at all. Baby. Quinn starts to protest, folding her arms across her chest. How do you even know it was there? Jeremy pouts, making her roll her eyes. Mom, radar is better than military-grade surveillance equipment, especially when your 10-year-old starts sneaking food from the kitchen and whispering to his closet, she says. Well, you gotta admit he's been a really good boy, Jeremy insists, holding the animal closer. He's been here for 2 days already. What? Quinn's eyebrows shoot up to her hairline. She had not known it had been that long. I mean, he's been here for 2 hours already. Jeremy clears his throat, adjusting his crooked glasses with one finger. And you never heard him bark, did you? That's a really, really good dog. Quinn sighs, pushing her short brown hair away from her face. She knows Jeremy is having a hard time adjusting to his new school. He won't complain because he never complains, but she knows. The 2 quiet afternoons, the way he doesn't talk about making friends. And Jeremy never asks for anything, ever. Plus, she has nothing against dogs, really. In fact, she's always wanted one herself, but the only problem is, baby, this isn't a dog, Quinn says, bending down to eye level with the creature. Jeremy blinks, looks at the pup in his arms, then back at Quinn. I'm pretty sure it's a wolf. Quinn narrows her eyes, observing the distinctly pointed muzzle, the thick coat, and the unmistakable wildness in its amber eyes. Where did you even find it? In the woods behind the playground, Jeremy says. He was hurt, see? He gently reveals a small bandage on the animal's front paw. I used the first aid kit from the bathroom. Oh, sweetie, you can't just bring wild animals home, Quinn tries to reason. They're not pets. They probably have all sorts of diseases and parasites and... I checked for ticks, Jeremy interrupts. That's not... Please, Mom, Jeremy whispers, his voice cracking. He needs me. The wolf, because Quinn is 100% certain it's a wolf, looks up at her with big, sorrowful eyes. It whimpers softly, lowering its head in what seems like a deliberate appeal to her sympathies. Quinn feels her resolve weakening. Damn it. The phone rings from the living room, its shrill tone echoing through the old Victorian house. That must be Meg from downstairs. I'll be right back, Quinn says. But what about Fangs? Jeremy calls after her. You named it Fangs? Quinn asks, turning back with a raised eyebrow. He's got good ones, Jeremy replies. Quinn sighs. It can stay tonight, she concedes, just tonight. And after that? Jeremy presses, his eyes lighting up with hope. Haven't decided yet, Quinn says firmly, heading down the stairs of their top-floor apartment to the main part of the inn below. The phone at the front desk is ringing off the hook, and Quinn can hear Meg's harried voice trying to calm someone down. She hurries through the hallway decorated with wall-mounted postcards of Pine Haven's scenic mountains. Finally, Meg exclaims when Quinn emerges into the lobby. She's standing behind the front desk, receiver pressed between her ear and shoulder, frantically clicking through the ancient computer system. There's a double booking for room 3 this weekend. The system shows the Andersons arriving Friday, but I've got Mrs. Miller on the phone and... Quinn takes the phone from Meg. Crisis averted, she says, after sorting out the booking mess, eyeing the pile of bills waiting for her attention. Now on to my Jeremy crisis. What Jeremy crisis? Meg asks. Kid's a saint, unlike his mother. Quinn shoots her a glare. Well, the saint has brought home a wolf pup, she says, massaging her temple. He brought home a wolf? Meg's voice rises an octave. A wolf pup, Quinn corrects. Meg squints her eyes at her. Please tell me you're not letting him keep it. Just for tonight, Quinn defends. Meg's jaw drops. You can't be serious. Quinn, wolves are dangerous. Not appropriate for a child. Or an inn, for that matter. Look, I know, okay? But the kid had such a rough time since we moved here, and you should have seen his face tonight, Meg. First real smile in months. So, get him a Nintendo like every parent does, Meg argues. With what money? Quinn sighs. At least the wolf is free. Oh no, Meg groans. You're going to let him keep it, aren't you? I haven't decided anything, Quinn protests, but just so you know, that wolf is really, really cute. She looks around the front office, at the vintage check-in desk she'd refinished herself, the hand-painted sign welcoming guests to Pine Haven Inn, the antique key rack that had belonged to her great-aunt. 3 months of back-breaking work to turn this old family property into a functioning business, and she's barely making ends meet. And now her son wants to add a wolf to the mix. Chapter 2. Jeremy. Jeremy sits cross-legged on his bedroom floor, arranging a small pile of beef jerky strips beside his new pet. It's going to be okay, Jeremy whispers. Mom said you can stay for now, and once she really gets to know you, she'll let you stay forever. Fangs tilts his head, eyes fixed on Jeremy's face. You're a good listener, Jeremy says, smiling. It's nice having someone to talk to who doesn't interrupt or tell him to speak up or make fun of his glasses. Suddenly, Fangs yelps, a high-pitched, almost human sound, and bolts across the room, diving into Jeremy's closet. Fangs? Jeremy stands up, confused. Strange noises come from the closet, rustling, thumping. Jeremy's heart pounds. Is Fangs hurt? Did he go in there to have an accident? Taking a deep breath, Jeremy inches toward the closet. Hello? He calls out, his voice embarrassingly squeaky. Gathering his courage, he yanks the door open. Wrapped in his favorite blue sweater, clutching it around herself like a makeshift dress, is a girl who definitely hadn't been there before. So naturally, Jeremy screams. Reflexively, the girl screams right back. What are you doing here? Jeremy demands. Where's Fangs? He pushes the closet door wider, scanning the small space. His winter boots, his rain jacket. No wolf. Where is he? Jeremy asks again, staring at the little girl. She has wild red hair, which reminds him of Fang's fur and is about his age, maybe a bit younger, with freckles scattered across her nose and cheeks. He left? The girl tries, biting her lip. What? Where? Jeremy asks, looking into the closet once more. It's completely empty except for his belongings and this strange girl. He looks at the girl, then the closet, then the girl again. Fine, you win. I'm Fangs, the girl blurts out, throwing her hands up. Jeremy blinks. You're what? I'm him, the wolf. Well, she. I was always a girl. I switch forms, not genders. The girl adds, like this is somehow the most relevant piece of information here. You switch forms? Jeremy's mouth hangs open. It's crazy that you don't know how to differentiate a female wolf from a male, actually, the little girl insists, nervously tugging his sweater tighter around herself. Don't they teach you things at human school? Human school? Jeremy repeats, bewildered. Whatever you call it, she says with a shrug. Look, I can prove I'm Fangs. How? You fed me beef jerky and saltine crackers yesterday. You told me your mom would be mad if she found out you were sneaking food from the kitchen. And you read me 3 chapters from that book about the kids who find a magic wardrobe. She points to his copy of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe on his nightstand. Jeremy's eyes widen. Who are you? He asks. My real name is Eva. She extends her hand like an adult would, which strikes Jeremy as both weird and kind of cool. Eva Keane. Jeremy shakes her hand automatically, his brain still trying to process what's happening. But how? I'm a shifter, Eva explains, perching on the edge of his bed like she owns it. Part human, part wolf. I can turn into either one. Why didn't you just say so before? Jeremy asks, thinking it must have been awkward for Eva to act like a pet when he'd scratched behind her ears. Eva rolls her eyes. Because I can't talk as a wolf, duh. Okay, well, why didn't you just turn back and tell me? Now it's Eva's turn to look embarrassed. I've been having trouble switching back and forth between forms, she mumbles. Why? Jeremy asks. What's the problem? Eva's head snaps up. It's not a problem. It's very common for shifters my age, actually, she quips, lifting her chin defiantly. I didn't mean... Jeremy starts, but stops. He's more focused on wrapping his head around the situation. So you're a wolf and a human, all at once? Yes, Eva says, watching him carefully. Jeremy gapes and then, That's so cool, he exclaims. Eva's face breaks into a grin. Right? She sits up straighter, practically preening. Can I be a shifter too? Jeremy asks eagerly. How awesome it would be if he could turn into a wolf whenever he wanted. No, you have to be born one, Eva explains, in a tone that suggests she believes Jeremy to be particularly slow. Isn't there, like, a thing where if you bite me, I'll turn into one? Jeremy suggests, remembering werewolf movies he wasn't supposed to watch. Well, yes, but you wouldn't survive, Eva says matter-of-factly. It would kill you. Jeremy gulps, which Eva notices. Don't worry, I won't bite you, she assures him. Ever, it's forbidden. By who? By our alpha, obviously. Oh, okay, Jeremy nods, then pauses. What's an alpha? Eva's eyes widen. You don't know what an alpha is? She sits up straighter. The alpha is the pack leader, the strongest, fastest, most powerful wolf in the whole pack. You have a pack? Jeremy asks, awed. Well, of course I do, otherwise I'd be a rogue, Eva tells him. And in the pack, everyone has to do what the alpha says. He protects everyone and makes all the important decisions. And he can even command other wolves with just his voice. Wow, Jeremy whispers, impressed. And is he, you know, nice? Ava blinks at him for several seconds. He doesn't have to be nice, she tells him slowly. He's the alpha. Okay, Jeremy says, but... Though I guess he does tell nice bedtime stories. Ava concedes with a pout. He hasn't done it in a while. Your alpha reads bedtime stories? Jeremy asks. He had imagined some kind of massive wolf warrior, and somehow the image doesn't quite fit. Oh, Ava chuckles. Not usually, no, but he does with me, 'cause he's my daddy. Jeremy thinks perhaps Eva should have led with that, but he doesn't have an alpha or a father, so... What does he know? Crap, Jeremy says. You probably need to get back home or something now, don't you? To his surprise, Ava vehemently shakes her head. Definitely not, she says. The alpha will be furious that I've left. Who knows if he's going to let me back in at all? He was already very disappointed in me for not being able to shift back. Is that why you ran away? Jeremy asks. Ava shrugs, looking purposely away. It's not your fault you can't shift back, Jeremy protests. I'm sure you did your best. My best isn't enough, Eva mumbles. Other wolves my age have no trouble shifting back. I'm a pretty bad shifter. That's not true, Jeremy says firmly. You're super cool. I wish I could do what you can do. Ava smiles hesitantly. You really mean that? Of course I do, Jeremy exclaims. Can you show me how you shift? Okay, Eva says, chirping up. She closes her eyes, her face scrunching up in concentration. For a moment, nothing happens. Then suddenly, where the little girl had been sitting, there's now a sandy-colored wolf pup. Jeremy's jaw drops. Wow, he gasps. That's so cool. Fangs, Eva, gives a happy little yip, her tail wagging furiously. Oh my God, Mom is going to freak when I tell her about this, Jeremy exclaims. Ava barks sharply and backs away, shaking her head vigorously. Wait, you don't want me to tell her? Jeremy asks, suddenly understanding. But why not? Ava just looks at him, those amber eyes somehow managing to look pleading. Okay, I won't tell. It'll be our secret, Jeremy promises. Chapter 3, Quinn. We should really take Fangs to the vet today, Quinn says the next morning, pouring milk over Jeremy's cereal. Get him checked out? Jeremy's spoon freezes halfway to his mouth. Fangs is a girl, he says, purposely ignoring the rest. Quinn leans against the kitchen counter of their small apartment above the inn, studying her son. Is everything okay at school, honey? She asks carefully. Jeremy shoots her a confused glance. Mom, it's Saturday, he reminds her, making Quinn roll her eyes. I mean, generally, kiddo, how are things going? Jeremy's eyes shift away from hers. Fine. Quinn opens her mouth to press further when her alarm beeps. Breakfast service for the guests starts in 15 minutes. Darn it, she sighs. I've got to go. Want to bring your homework to the dining room? I should stay with Fangs, Jeremy says, reaching down to scratch the wolf pup's ears. She'd be lonely. Quinn wants to insist, but the clock is ticking, and Mrs. Henderson from room 4 gets positively feral if her coffee isn't waiting exactly at 7. Guilt gnaws at Quinn as she ties her apron, though. Back in Portland, Jeremy had friends. Not many, but a couple. Here in Pine Haven, he seems more isolated than ever. But when her grandma Mabel died and left Quinn this rambling Victorian where she'd grown up, it had seemed like a miracle. Instead of managing someone else's hotel, she could finally own her own business. A dream come true. Except at what cost? Her son's happiness? The dining room is already filling with weekend guests when Quinn emerges with a stack of pancakes. She slides them onto the buffet and begins refilling coffee cups. A few minutes later, a burst of high-pitched laughter cuts through the dining room, Meg's trademark, "I'm flirting" laugh. Quinn turns and sees her friend at the reception desk talking to a tall man with his back to the dining room. Even from behind, there's something striking about him. Broad shoulders beneath an expensive suit, dark hair neatly trimmed at the nape of his neck. Something in the way he carries himself, the confident stance, the slight tilt of his head as he listens to Meg, draws Quinn's attention like a magnet. There's something familiar in that posture, something that makes Quinn's heart skip a beat before her brain can process why. She takes a step closer, coffee pot still in hand. The man shifts his weight, one hand reaching out to accept a pen from Meg, long fingers, elegant yet strong. The coffee pot nearly slips from Quinn's suddenly numb fingers. The clatter as she sets it down too hard on a nearby table sounds distant, muffled, as if she's underwater. No, it can't be. But as the man half turns to sign whatever paper Meg has given him, Quinn sees his profile, and the world drops away completely. Those hands. She knows those hands, remembers precisely how they felt tracing patterns on her skin, gentle yet possessive. She takes a sharp intake of breath, her eyes traveling to the sharp line of his jaw, the curve of his mouth. She remembers how that jaw feels against her lips. Her heart hammers so violently she can feel it in her throat. The man's head snaps to her, and their eyes lock. Amber eyes. His eyes. The eyes that once looked at her like she was the answer to every question he'd ever asked. To his credit, those eyes only briefly widen before he schools his expression, but Quinn sees the tension that immediately stiffens his shoulders. "How dare you?" she thinks. "Why would you be tense? You're the one that left." She walks closer, ears buzzing, and hears herself ask, "May I help you?" She honestly doesn't know how she manages to form words. Because this, standing before her for the first time in 10 years, is Mason Keane, the love of her life. Or so she thought. So she thought because while she was falling madly in love, his family was arranging his betrothal, apparently. And while Quinn was imagining their future together, he already had a future planned out. One that did not include her. "Quinn!" Meg says brightly. "Mr. Keane here wants to book a room." Her friend looks excited and flustered, which makes Quinn want to grind her teeth. "I'm afraid we're fully booked," she says coolly. "No, we're not," Meg says, confusion crossing her face. Mason just stares at Quinn, brows slightly furrowed. He hasn't said a thing, Quinn realizes. Not a single thing. His eyes. She thought she remembered their color well, but her memory hadn't done them justice, and she hates it. "How long will you be staying for, sir?" Meg asks, batting her eyelashes. Her flirting so obvious it's embarrassing. "He's taken," Quinn wants to scream. "Married. Not interested. Not worth your time. Certainly not worth the heartbreak." It's a lie, though, she knows. For even if she'd known how it would end, with her heart shattered into a million broken pieces, she thinks she would do it again, all so that Mason would kiss her once more. "Sir," Meg insists, "do you know how long—" "Indefinitely," Mason interrupts, never taking his eyes off Quinn. Meg squeals excitedly, and suddenly it's too much. Quinn can't take any more. She can't because Mason left her, left what barely remained of Quinn after him. And she went and threw herself into the arms of the first cute guy who would have her to forget him and got pregnant and then got left again. "I could show you around if you'd like," Meg is saying, still twirling her hair. "Oh, for crying out loud," Quinn groans, turning to her. "Give it a rest, won't you? He's married." There's an awkward silence. Quinn sees red because she's not the one being awkward here. Meg is flirting shamelessly with yet another unavailable man who so happens to be her ex, while said ex is saying nonsense about wanting to book a room in her inn. when he should know, should know. There's not a world where that is appropriate, at least not where Quinn is concerned. "Look, sir, are you single?" she asks. Mason blinks, looking properly startled. "I beg your pardon?" "Yeah, see, my friend here," Quinn jerks a thumb toward Meg. "She always goes for the married ones, so can you please tell her you're married so we can all move on?" Mason's mouth opens and closes once before he finds words. "I'm not," he says eventually, cautiously. Quinn sighs. "What, still engaged?" she insists. "Well, Mason begins. "See?" Quinn says, turning to Meg triumphantly. "Widowed," Mason concludes, and Quinn freezes, her victory evaporating into thin air. His wife is dead. His wife died, and he didn't think of telling her, at least? Coming back? No, of course not. It was never about that other girl anyway, was it? "Sorry for your loss," she mutters, then moves away abruptly to return to the kitchen. Mason moves so swiftly she doesn't see it. He always used to do that. 1 second he'd be this awfully polite, affable, sunny person, and the next... His fingers grasp her arm, spinning her back toward him. "Wait, Quinn?" He tries, and for the first time since he came here, he looks... affected, at least. By what? Quinn has no idea. Surely not by her. "Let go of me," she says. Mason looks like he isn't going to. There are specks of gold in his irises, just like she remembers, flickering to life when he's emotional. "I said let go of me, Mason," Quinn snaps. He does slowly, reluctantly. "I apologize," he murmurs, making Quinn snort. "For what?" she challenges, and when Mason looks startled and as sad as she feels, she grins bitterly and says, "Yeah, I thought so," and walks away. Chapter 4, Jeremy. "I'm going crazy in here," Eva groans, pacing the confines of Jeremy's bedroom. "My wolf is about to lose it." Jeremy looks up from his comic book. "We could go to the park, and then maybe the mall. Mom gave me $5. He reaches under his bed and pulls out his backpack. "I can bring some clothes for you, too." Eva's face lights up. "Really?" "Sure, it's Saturday. We can be out all day if we want." Jeremy stuffs a pair of jeans and a smaller t-shirt into his backpack. Ava rushes to the window, peering out eagerly at the sunny day, and then she goes still. "Something wrong?" Jeremy joins her at the window. Ava points to a tall man in dark jeans and an expensive-looking sweater, walking the grounds behind the inn. "Probably a guest," Jeremy tells her. "He's not a guest," Eva whispers. "He's my alpha." "What?" Jeremy leans closer to the glass, his heart speeding up. "You mean that's your dad?" Ava nods, shrinking back from the window. "He must have tracked me here." Her voice drops even lower. "If he looks up right now, he might sense us watching." Jeremy quickly pulls back from the window, his pulse pounding in his ears. Can he break down doors? Or walls? "If he wanted to," Eva says simply, eyes wide and serious. Jeremy watches the man outside, Eva's father, more closely. There's something about the intensity in his search that makes Jeremy's chest ache, but now with fear. His own father left before he was even born. Didn't even care enough to send a birthday card, ever. Yet Eva's dad is here, searching for her. "Maybe you should go to him," Jeremy suggests hesitantly. "He must be worried about you." Ava's eyes flash with something between fear and defiance. "You don't understand what alphas are like when they're angry. When I ran away, I broke pack law. In the old days, wolves were banished for less." "But he's your dad," Jeremy protests. "He's the alpha first, dad second," Eva says bitterly. "Always has been." She peeks out the window again, then quickly ducks down. "Get down. He's coming this way." They scramble back from the glass. Jeremy's mind races with comic book scenarios of walls being smashed and doors being ripped from hinges. What do we do? If he's looking for you, I don't think we can go outside. Ava's face falls, then hardens with determination. We just need to be extra careful. If he tries to take me, throw a fit. Tell everyone I'm your wolf. He won't want to make a scene. He's obsessed with keeping our existence secret from humans. Really? Jeremy asks. Trust me, my father is all about appearances. Okay. Jeremy swallows hard. You should probably be Fangs when we go out. Eva nods, then shifts smoothly into wolf form. The sandy-colored pup looks up at Jeremy expectantly. Let's go. Jeremy grabs the leash, his backpack, and takes a deep breath. Stay close to me. They head downstairs, Jeremy trying his best to look casual. The inn is busy with Saturday guests checking in and out, which works to their advantage. More people means more distractions and possible witnesses. At the bottom of the stairs, Jeremy peeks around the corner. The lobby is clear, but he can see Meg at the front desk, chatting with a couple. His mom is nowhere in sight. Come on, Jeremy whispers, tugging gently on Eva's leash. They make it to the back hallway that leads to the garden door. Just as Jeremy reaches for the handle, Eva freezes, hackles rising. Jeremy follows her gaze through the window. Eva's father is right outside, examining something on the ground. They back away from the door, Eva tugging Jeremy toward the laundry room. Good idea, Jeremy whispers, following her lead. The laundry room has a side door that guests never use. Through its window, they can see Ava's father has moved to the front of the inn, still searching. Now's our chance, Jeremy whispers, easing open the side door. They slip outside, sticking close to the building's shadow. Jeremy leads Eva along the perimeter, heading for the tree line that borders the property. They're almost there when Jeremy hears a deep voice behind them. Excuse me. Jeremy freezes, then slowly turns. Eva's father stands 20 feet away, his amber eyes fixed on Eva. That's an unusual dog you have there, the man says, his voice casual but his stance tense. Jeremy's mouth goes dry. She's a husky mix, he manages. The man takes a step closer. Eva presses against Jeremy's leg, trembling slightly. Don't come any closer, Jeremy blurts out. She's scared of strangers. The man's eyes narrow, studying Eva intently. What's her name? He asks. Fangs, Jeremy answers, remembering Eva's instructions to act like she belongs to him. The man is close enough now that Jeremy can see the intensity in his eyes. He reaches a hand toward Eva, who backs away, growling softly, and suddenly this man, this very dangerous man, looks sad. See? Scared of strangers, Jeremy repeats, his voice cracking. His legs feel like jelly and sweat beads on his forehead. Eva's growl deepens, a sound no dog would make, and Jeremy swears the man growls at her right back. Ava, he says quietly, his voice deep and certain. Come here. Jeremy feels his stomach drop to his shoes. Her name is Fangs, he defends, his voice coming out higher than intended. And she's my pet. Jeremy's never been so terrified in his life, not even when Tommy Wilson and his friends cornered him behind the school. But he can't abandon Eva. Then, like an answer to a prayer, he spots his mom on the back porch, up on a ladder trying to change a light bulb. Except the ladder wobbles precariously beneath her. Mom! Jeremy calls out just as the ladder tips. Ava's father turns, sees Quinn falling, and in a blur of movement that no human could possibly match, He's at the porch, catching her before she hits the ground. "Now!" Jeremy gasps, and he and Eva bolt for the trees. They sprint with the desperate energy of prey animals. Chapter 5, Quinn. "Just a little more," Quinn mutters, stretching precariously from the top of the ladder. The back porch light has been flickering for days, driving her crazy during the evening wine hour when guests like to sit outside. One more inch and she can reach the socket. The ladder wobbles beneath her, but Quinn ignores it, the light bulb almost within her grasp when... "Mom!" Quinn glances over. Jeremy is at the edge of the yard with fangs and... Mason. For a heartbeat, Quinn forgets she's balanced on a metal death trap 3 feet off the ground. Forgets everything except the way his eyes crinkled when he laughed. Anger surges through her at the memory, and Quinn makes a too-quick movement. The ladder shifts, the world tilting as her feet lose contact with the metal rung. And then she's falling. A short yelp escapes her throat as she braces for impact. It never comes. Instead, strong arms catch her, cradling her body against a solid chest. "What the—" Quinn struggles to process what just happened. She blinks, disoriented, and finds herself looking up into amber eyes, Mason's eyes. "What the hell?" Quinn breathes. "Are you hurt?" Mason asks, his voice pitched low, intimate in a way that makes her skin prickle. Quinn struggles to find her bearings. "Where did you come from?" "The yard," Mason says simply. Quinn looks over his shoulder at the spot where he'd been standing with Jeremy just seconds ago. "But you were all the way over there," she says, pointing. She becomes suddenly aware that she's still in his arms, one of his hands warm against her back, the other under her knees. And well, the last time he held her this way was the weekend they'd driven to the coast, when he'd carried her into the ocean, despite her squealing protests. "You can put me down now," she points out, a flush creeping up her neck despite herself. Mason carefully sets her on her feet, but his hands linger at her waist a moment too long, as if he's reluctant to break contact. "Are you hurt?" he asks. "Just my pride," Quinn says, willing her heartbeat to slow down. "Where did Jeremy go?" "He ran off with his dog when you fell." Quinn scoffs at that. So much for checking up on her. Kids. So ungrateful, she thinks, just as the memory of Jeremy's tense face resurfaces. Then, Quinn's mama bear instincts flare. "Why were you talking to my son?" she snaps, staring Mason in the eye, trying not to notice how he towers over her. "Your son?" Mason asks, as an emotion flickers briefly across his face. Someone else might not have noticed yet, let alone identified it. Someone else isn't Quinn. "Oh, relax, he isn't yours." She scowls, all the more when Mason visibly relaxes at that. "And since he isn't, may I ask what you wanted with him?" Mason stiffens slightly. "I apologize if I overstepped. I was asking about his pet," he says carefully. "He's a brave boy." Quinn raises an eyebrow. She's been told Jeremy is overly cautious too many times to count. Very mature for his age on numerous occasions, but brave. Bravery had never come up. "He defended it quite fiercely," Mason continues. "That takes courage." "He did?" Quinn asks. "Very much so. You should be proud. He stood his ground quite admirably." A spark of pride warms Quinn's chest, and then Mason's words register. "Wait a minute. Stood his ground?" Quinn repeats, suspicion blooming. "Why would he need to stand his ground?" "Oh..." He looks briefly uncomfortable at that. "Well, I thought his dog was my daughter." "Excuse me?" Quinn blinks. "I mean..." Mason runs a hand through his dark hair. "I thought it was my daughter's dog." Quinn stares at him. So Mason has a daughter who lost her mother, apparently. Quinn's anger at Mason is overpowered by empathy for the poor kid. Well, it's not, Quinn says, because that's not a dog, that's a wolf. You don't say, Mason quips, though he doesn't look surprised. He'd probably noticed that too then, Quinn thinks, which probably explains why he's looking at her like that. Because he too, like Meg, thinks she shouldn't let her son own a pet wolf. Which, fine, valid concern, but also none of Mason's business. The wolf is very well behaved, if you must know, Quinn defends, crossing her arms. She is? Mason asks, looking startled before clearing his throat. I mean, really? Quinn narrows her eyes at him. Hey, you're not going to call animal control on my kid, are you? Because I'll have you know. No, Mason raises his hands in appeasement. I really did just confuse the wolf with my daughter's pet, that's all. Something flickers in Mason's eyes, pain, quickly masked, which is probably why Quinn asks her next question. Where is your daughter, then? Did you leave her alone with the cult? Mason flinches at the term. My family is not a cult, Quinn. Really? Because from the outside it sure looked like one, Quinn counters. She remembers how they'd lived, clustered together on that massive property, how they'd homeschooled the children, kept to themselves, appeared in town only in groups. You were always together, never letting outsiders in, Quinn argues, controlling who everyone talked to, who they married. Her voice catches on the last word. You don't know what you're talking about, Mason protests. Of course I do, Quinn snaps. Your father decided who you could be with and you just went along with it. Mason's face closes. I apologize, he says. For what exactly? Quinn challenges, unable to stop herself. For showing up at my inn after 10 years like it's nothing? Or for all of it, Mason interrupts quietly. Quinn looks away. So is your daughter still there, being groomed for whatever future your father has planned for her? Mason's jaw tightens. My father is gone. I lead the family now. This catches Quinn off guard. Old man Keane had seemed eternal, his authority absolute. She remembers how Mason had spoken of him, with reverence and fear in equal measure. Gone, she repeats, incredulous. After what happened with my brother, Mason says, his voice carefully controlled. Things changed. What happened to Elliot? Quinn asks, her anger momentarily forgotten. Mason's older brother, golden boy, heir apparent, the one who could do no wrong in their father's eyes. Mason looks away. He's gone too. The pain in his voice is real, and Quinn feels a pang of sympathy despite herself. Whatever happened, it clearly haunts him. And to answer your original question, no, Mason continues. My daughter isn't with the family. She ran away. Wait, what? Oh my God, Quinn whispers, genuine concern replacing her suspicion. Is that why you're here? Are you looking for her? Mason nods, his face unreadable. She's not in danger, but... He trails off, looking toward the woods where Jeremy disappeared. She doesn't want to come home. The pain in his voice is unmistakable, and Quinn feels a surge of sympathy. I'm so sorry, she tells him. That must be awful. I believe I've failed her as a father, Mason says quietly. We all make mistakes. Quinn leans against the porch railing. My kid's having a rough time since we moved here. No friends, quiet all the time. She shakes her head. Sometimes I wonder if I made the right choice, uprooting him for this inn. You did what you thought was best, I'm sure, Mason says simply. Did I? Or did I do what I wanted and tell myself it was for him too? Quinn sighs. You said Jeremy was brave. I worry he's too anxious, too careful. His father left before he was born, and I wonder if that's why he... His father left? Mason interrupts, voice sharp. Yeah, we were 19. Classic story. Boy knocks up girlfriend, boy runs for the hills. He abandoned his child. Something dangerous flashes in Mason's eyes. He abandoned you? He wasn't the first to do so, was he? Quinn snaps. Mason flinches as if she'd slapped him. That was different. Was it? Quinn challenges. She crosses her arms. At least Jeremy's father was honest about not wanting responsibility. I never lied about wanting you, Mason says. Surely you know that. He steps closer, close enough that she can see the individual flecks of gold in his eyes. Quinn, he begins, his voice urgent. Stop it, she warns. Whatever you're about to say, don't. For a moment, she thinks he'll ignore her, push forward with whatever confession or explanation he wants to offer. The old Mason might have. But this Mason, older, carrying new burdens, simply nods and steps back. I should get back to work, Quinn sighs. That light still needs fixing. Allow me, Mason offers, already moving toward the ladder. Quinn watches as he climbs with easy precision, changing the bulb in seconds. The familiar way he moves, efficient and graceful, sends an unwelcome pang through her chest. When he hands her the old bulb, their fingers brush. Thank you, she says stiffly, taking a small step back. Mason nods, his eyes never leaving hers. Quinn, She turns away, unable to bear whatever he might say next. The past is the past. She has an inn to run, a son to raise, a life that doesn't have room for reopening old wounds. Chapter 6, Jeremy. Jeremy watches Eva's face light up as they wander through the town park, her eyes wide with wonder at everything from the ice cream truck to the playground equipment. After their narrow escape from Eva's father, they'd spent the day exploring, Eva in human form wearing Jeremy's extra clothes, her red hair tucked under his baseball cap. We don't have anything like this in the pack territory. She points excitedly at the colorful playground. You've never been on a swing? Jeremy asks, incredulous. Nope, Dad says it's too dangerous to play with human children. Jeremy grabs Eva's hand. Come on! After the swings, Jeremy introduces Eva to his favorite spot, a small pond where paper boats can be sailed. I've got just enough money left for the boat guy, Jeremy says, pulling his last dollar from his pocket. Eva watches, fascinated, as the vendor hands them 2 small boats. They watch their tiny vessels drift across the pond, racing each other to the other side. This is way better than training, Eva sighs happily. What kind of training do you do? Jeremy asks, skipping a stone across the water. Eva shrugs. Mostly shifting and tracking and fighting. Fighting? Jeremy's eyes widen. Yes, for when I'm older, Eva explains. Future alphas have to be the strongest, fastest, and toughest. All I ever do is train. I never get to just... She gestures around the park. Have fun. Maybe ask your dad for a day off? Eva laughs. You don't tell an alpha what to do, even if he's your dad. They're quiet for a moment, watching their paper boats reach the other side of the pond. We should head back, Jeremy says finally, noticing the lengthening shadows. Mom will be worried. When they reach the inn, Eva shifts back to wolf form behind some bushes, and they enter through the laundry room door as before. The inn seems quiet. Most guests must be out for dinner. They climb the stairs to the apartment, finding the door unlocked. Inside, Jeremy's mom is seated at her small easel in the corner of the living room, paintbrush in hand, completely absorbed in her work. "Hey, kiddo, have fun?" Ava, in wolf form, freezes mid-step, staring at Quinn's painting, a landscape of the forest behind the inn, the colors vibrant and bold. "I ordered pizza for dinner," Quinn says. "Should be here in 20 minutes. I thought we could watch a movie together." "Awesome!" Jeremy exclaims. An hour later, they're sprawled on the couch, empty pizza box on the coffee table, watching an animated movie, Ava's wolf eyes never leaving the screen. Halfway through the movie, the phone rings. "Mrs. Henderson's shower's out again," Quinn says. "I'll be right back." After she leaves, Eva shifts back to human form, grabbing Jeremy's blanket to wrap around herself. "Your mom is so cool," Eva whispers, her eyes bright with excitement. "She makes things, with her hands, like actual beautiful things." Jeremy shrugs. "She's always painted. She wanted to go to art school, but then she had me instead." "Can I see more of her paintings?" Eva asks eagerly. "I guess," Jeremy says, pausing the movie. "She has a little studio in the spare room." He leads Eva to the smallest bedroom in the apartment, which Quinn has converted into an art space. Easels stand by the window, and canvases lean against the walls. Eva spins in a slow circle, taking it all in. She moves from canvas to canvas, touching the edges gently. "What's in there?" Eva asks, pointing to a large portfolio leaning against the wall. "I don't know," Jeremy admits. "Mom keeps her old stuff in there, I think." Naturally, this makes Eva curious, and she swiftly pulls the portfolio out. "Eva?" Jeremy groans nervously. "What?" "We're just appreciating your mom's art," Eva insists, already flipping through the papers. The first few sketches are of landscapes, buildings, and occasionally Jeremy as a younger child. But then Eva gasps, holding up a portrait, and Jeremy's jaw drops. It's a detailed pencil drawing of a man that looks just like... "My dad! That's totally my dad!" Eva exclaims. They quickly discover the portfolio contains at least a dozen drawings of Eva's dad. Some quick sketches, others detailed portraits. In one, he's laughing, his head thrown back. In another, he's reading a book, his expression serene. "I don't understand," Jeremy says, confused. "Why would Mom have all these drawings of your dad?" "Because, Jeremy," Eva whispers. "She's totally crushing on him." "What? No way," Jeremy protests. "Yes way," Eva says with authority. Jeremy studies the drawing. "Are you sure that's your dad, though?" Jeremy points out. "He looks much younger." "It's definitely him," Eva insists. "Maybe they'd met before?" She gasps. "Oh my God, Jeremy, are you thinking what I'm thinking? That this is really awkward?" Eva shakes her head in disappointment. "Oh, Jeremy, my poor simple human friend." She sighs. "No, I'm thinking if your mom started dating my dad..." "Why would they do that?" Jeremy interrupts. "I don't know, adult reasons?" Eva shrugs. "The point is, if they dated, my dad would let us hang out." Jeremy considers this. "Well, I guess that's true, but..." "And," Eva continues excitedly, "your mom is so much cooler than all the women his council wants him to remarry." "What's a council?" Jeremy asks. "Old dudes who think they can tell my dad what's best," Eva explains. "And they think what's best is for my dad to produce a second heir because my mom died when I was a baby." Her face briefly falls at that. "Oh, I'm so sorry," Jeremy says softly. Eva shrugs. "It's fine. I don't remember her," she murmurs before lightening up. "But if I'm going to get a new mom, I'd like her to be cool, and your mom is so cool, Jeremy." "She's the coolest mom," Jeremy agrees. "She lets me stay up late when I'm reading a good book, and she curses a lot." Eva nods enthusiastically. We need to get her together with my dad. I don't know, Jeremy says. No offense, but your old man's really scary. He's not so bad, Eva defends. He makes mean enchiladas. I love enchiladas, Jeremy exclaims. See? It's perfect. Eva jumps up. You get a new dad, I get a new mom, and we all get enchiladas. Jeremy grins despite himself. But how would we do it? He asks. Mom doesn't seem to like him. And trust me, she can hold a grudge forever. She still won't eat at Denny's because they messed up her order 3 years ago. We just need to get them alone together, Eva says confidently. A lot in romantic situations. What kind of romantic situations? I don't know. Being trapped in an elevator? Eva suggests excitedly. The inn doesn't have an elevator, Jeremy points out. Well, what about if they're running from danger and have to hide in a really small closet? What danger would they be running from? How about a bear? There aren't any bears around here, Eva. I could pretend to be a bear. Jeremy just stares at her. Okay, I've got it, Eva says, snapping her fingers. What if you pretend you've lost something in the woods and then we send my dad to help your mom find it? That will never... Jeremy makes a pause. Actually, you know what? That might work, he admits. Eva grins mischievously, her enthusiasm infectious. Chapter 7, Quinn. Quinn sweeps her flashlight across the forest floor, muttering curses under her breath. The sun has nearly disappeared behind the trees, casting long shadows that make her search even more difficult. His father's compass, she groans, pushing aside fallen branches. And you just happen to have it out here in the woods, Jeremy. Really? The compass is the only thing Jeremy has from the father he's never met. A man who'd only left a small box of belongings behind when he'd vanished from their lives. Quinn had kept the compass for Jeremy. When her son had burst into the kitchen an hour ago, eyes wide with panic, babbling about losing the compass while exploring the woods with fangs, Quinn hadn't hesitated. Even if it meant postponing dinner preparations for the guests and asking Meg to cover, some things were more important. Now, picking her way through the underbrush, Quinn thinks she probably should have thought this through. Stupid trees all looking the same, she grumbles, turning in a slow circle. A twig snaps behind her, and Quinn whirls around, heart leaping to her throat. Hello, she calls, flashlight beam cutting through the growing darkness. A figure emerges from between the trees, and Quinn's grip tightens on the flashlight, ready to use it as a weapon if necessary. You shouldn't be out here alone, a familiar deep voice says. Quinn's shoulders sag, relief and irritation flooding her in equal measure. I'm not alone now, am I? She quips sarcastically. Mason steps fully into the circle of her flashlight beam. What are you doing out here? Quinn demands. Ran into your son downstairs. He mentioned you disappearing into the woods. So you thought you'd follow me? Quinn retorts, crossing her arms. Mason's lips twitch, almost a smile. I thought you might need help. Well, I don't, Quinn snaps. Quinn, Mason says softly. She sighs, turns to face him, flashlight pointed slightly down to avoid blinding him. Fine, she concedes, but only because I really need to find this compass for Jeremy. Mason nods, already scanning the forest floor with a focus that reminds Quinn of how he used to approach problems. Methodical, intent, unstoppable once he set his mind to something. This way, he says, starting off confidently to the right. Did you just choose at random? Quinn challenges, but follows anyway. I know these woods, he replies simply. They walk in silence for several minutes, Quinn struggling occasionally over fallen logs and uneven ground. Mason moves with an easy grace that irritates her. He's always been unnaturally sure-footed. They reach the oak tree, its massive trunk split by an old lightning strike that has left a jagged black scar down one side. "You know," he says after a long silence, "I almost didn't recognize you when I first checked in." Quinn scoffs. "Well, you haven't changed at all. Still the same expensive clothes, same perfect posture, same—" She trails off, not wanting to finish the thought. The same power that radiates from him. Same intensity that both thrilled and frightened her. "Same what?" he prompts. "Same ability to show up where you're not wanted," she finishes. Mason's quiet laugh surprises her. "I seem to recall you once saying that was one of my better qualities." The memory hits Quinn with unexpected force. A rainy afternoon when she'd stormed out after an argument with her roommate, wandering aimlessly until she found herself lost in an unfamiliar part of the city. Somehow, impossibly, Mason had appeared, as if summoned by her distress. "That was different," Quinn says, though the edge has left her voice. Mason opens his mouth as if to say more, but then his attention shifts to something on the ground. He kneels, brushing aside some leaves, and when he stands, he's holding a small brass compass. "Found it," he says simply, extending his hand. Quinn takes the compass, their fingers brushing briefly in the exchange. "Thank you," she says, tucking it safely in her pocket. Jeremy will be relieved, she thinks, but doesn't say. Sometimes he stares at this compass like his father's going to jump out of it. Like somehow, if he holds on to it, then his father will return. It breaks Quinn's heart. "Tell me about your son," Mason says quietly as they begin walking back toward the inn, now visible through the trees in the distance. Quinn glances at him, surprised by the request. "What would you like to know?" "Just, what's he like?" Mason looks away. Does he always put too much jam on his toast? Is he afraid of clowns, too? Quinn opens her mouth to remind Mason she is not, in fact, afraid of clowns, but he continues. "Does he sing off-key and just so happens to blurt out whatever thought goes through his head?" "He's actually quite the opposite." Quinn rolls her eyes. Patient thinks before he acts. Jeremy weighs every possibility before making a decision. She gives Mason a pointed look. "You always knew what you wanted," he observes, never hesitated to go after it. They walk a few steps in silence before Quinn asks, "And what about your daughter? Does she smile at strangers and turn heads without realizing? Does she make you feel special and then disappears on you?" Something flickers across Mason's face. "Ava is fierce," he murmurs, "independent, questions everything I say." Smile. She has this way of looking at you like she's sizing you up, deciding if you're worth her time. "Also nothing like her parent, then," Quinn teases gently. Mason laughs, a warm sound that sends an unexpected shiver down Quinn's spine. "She's braver than I ever was," he murmurs. Follows her heart without hesitation. Quinn hears the unspoken words beneath his description, that his daughter is brave in ways he wasn't, ways that might have changed everything. "You've always been good at that, Quinn." Mason eyes hold hers. "Living life your way, consequences be damned." They walk the rest of the way in silence, but it's a different quality of silence than before, less tense, more thoughtful. As they approach the inn's back door, the yellow light from the kitchen spills out onto the porch steps. Quinn pauses, turning to face Mason. "Thank you," she says, meeting his eyes, "for helping me find the compass. It belonged to Jeremy's dad. It means a lot to him." Mason steps closer, just a fraction, but enough that Quinn can feel the warmth radiating from him. "I'm glad I could help." The moonlight catches in his amber eyes, and Quinn is suddenly vividly reminded of another night, years ago, when they'd stood beneath a different moon. The memory hits her with unexpected force, his hands cradling her face, his whispered confession that he'd never felt this way about anyone before. "Quinn," Mason says softly, and her name on his lips still sounds like a prayer. She knows she should step back, should go inside, should remember all the reasons why this is a terrible idea. But her body betrays her, swaying slightly toward him. Mason's hand rises to her cheek, his touch feather-light, as if he's afraid she might disappear. His eyes search hers, asking a question she's not sure she knows how to answer. For one suspended moment, she's certain he's going to kiss her. Part of her, a part she thought she'd buried years ago, aches for it with startling intensity. Then something shifts in his expression, a flash of what looks like fear, and Mason pulls back abruptly, his hand falling away from her face. "I'm sorry," he says, his voice strained. The sudden withdrawal feels like a physical slap. Quinn blinks, heat rising to her cheeks. Of course, he wouldn't kiss her. He made his choice years ago. Mason's expression is pained. "It's not what you think, Quinn. There are reasons." "There always are with you," Quinn mutters. "Always secrets, always something holding you back." "Quinn!" "Good night, Mason," she says firmly, stepping into the warm light of the inn before he can say anything else, before she can do something even more foolish. After all these years, after everything that's happened, how can he still affect her this way? How can she still be so stupid? As she closes the door behind her, Quinn leans against it for a moment, the compass clutched tightly in her hand, feeling a mix of embarrassment and another emotion she won't name for what it is. Longing. Chapter 8, Jeremy. "They almost kissed," Eva whispers excitedly, pacing back and forth across Jeremy's bedroom. She's in human form, wearing one of his t-shirts as a nightgown, her red hair wild around her face. "I saw them through the window." Jeremy sits cross-legged on his bed, absently spinning the compass between his fingers. "But they didn't actually kiss," he points out. "Your dad backed away." Ava waves her hand dismissively. "Details. The point is they wanted to. Did you see your mom's face when she came inside?" Jeremy had noticed. His mom had tried to act normal, but her eyes had that distant look she got when she was upset about something. "Your plan worked pretty well," Jeremy admits. "The compass was a good idea." "Told you." Eva plops down beside him, bouncing on the mattress. "But we need to do more. They're fighting it." "Fighting what?" Ava rolls her eyes dramatically. "Their feelings, dummy. Grown-ups do that. They like to make everything complicated." "So what do we do now?" Jeremy asks. "We need to be sneakier," Eva decides, "more strategic." As Eva scribbles down ideas, Jeremy feels a flutter of hope in his chest. Maybe, just maybe, this crazy plan could work. Maybe he could finally have a dad who wouldn't leave, and Ava could have a mom who'd let her just be a kid sometimes. Chapter 9, Quinn. The days at Pine Haven Inn shift into a rhythm that Quinn doesn't recognize, and that unnerves her more than she'd ever admit. Because Mason Keane is everywhere. When the ancient coffee maker sputters its final breath on a busy Saturday morning, Mason appears like summoned magic, toolbox in hand and sleeves rolled up. "You always did break things when you were stressed," he says with a crooked grin, kneeling beside the counter. "I'm not stressed," Quinn lies, taking the screwdriver he offers. She watches him work, deft hands moving with quiet confidence, and her mind betrays her. Flashing images of those same hands splayed across her skin, tugging at her hips, threading through her hair, holding her still while he kissed her until she forgot her name. She exhales shakily, forcing herself to look away. When the spring rain comes, Quinn finds herself under the small garden gazebo, the storm turning the world around them into a blurred watercolor of silver sheets and dripping leaves. And of course, Mason is there too. He stands close enough that she can feel the heat of his body even in the chill air, but not quite touching. Not yet. "Looks like we're stuck," he says, eyes on the storm. She wraps her arms around herself. "We'll dry." Mason glances down at her. "You remember that storm in Portland?" Her stomach twists. She does, too well. Running through the city, soaked and laughing, ducking into that bookshop to escape the rain. Mason pinning her against a wall of antique maps, kissing her senseless before dragging her to the floor behind a stack of biographies. Poetry forgotten, hands everywhere. "No," she says too quickly. His gaze sharpens. Liar. Raindrops hit the roof like drumbeats. She can feel every tick of the clock in her spine. 23 agonizing minutes of silence stretch between them, soaked in memory, tension, and everything they're not saying. The water heater dies on Tuesday evening because of course it does. Quinn stands in the basement, arms crossed, eyeing the massive tank like she could will it back to life. She doesn't hear the footsteps until they're already halfway down the stairs. "Let me guess," she mutters. "You just happen to be nearby." Mason shrugs, setting down a flashlight and a wrench. "Your inn has terrible luck. Fortunately, I'm extremely handy. And it's not just broken appliances." Mason appears on her morning walks, falling into step beside her without warning. When the firewood delivery arrives, he's already unloading the logs, sleeves pushed up, shirt clinging to his back. She hates how beautiful he is, hates how natural it feels to see him here, helping her, smiling like he belongs. And she really hates how her hands ache to touch him. One evening, she finds him in the library, thumbing through a worn book of poetry. Her breath catches. "Still reading Blake?" Their eyes meet. The silence stretches, taut as a drawn bowstring. She remembers reading to him in bed, naked under the covers, his fingers tracing lines over her stomach while she whispered stanzas into the dark. Blake has always been her favorite poet. And still, things keep happening. Jeremy somehow is thriving. He seems happier, lighter, laughing more, especially when Mason's daughter Fangs is around. One night, Quinn hears him at his door. "Of course she'd want extra pepperoni," he says, as if responding to someone. "Mom always forgets." There's a beat of silence. Then, "No, I didn't tell him, should I?" Quinn frowns. His tone is conspiratorial, animated. She presses an ear to the door. No response, just him, just his voice, and the soft shuffle of paws on the floor. Later, she brings it up to Meg. "Kids and their pets," Meg says with a shrug. "But can we talk about how Mr. Broodywolf can't stop looking at you? He practically inhaled you during breakfast." "He did not," Quinn says, turning away to hide the flush creeping up her neck. "Oh, honey," Meg grins. "The tension between you two is so thick I could spread it on toast." Quinn mutters something obscene and goes back to her paperwork. That evening, she's on the back porch again, painting the sunset. Her strokes are uneven, her thoughts a mess. The air shifts. She doesn't need to turn. She knows it's him. "You still paint," Mason says, voice warm against her ear. "Some habits don't die." He stands behind her now, close, too close. "It's beautiful," he murmurs. Her hand tightens on the edge of the easel. His nearness is dizzying. Her body remembers too much. The press of him, the taste, the way he used to whisper her name. Before he can say anything else, Meg's voice cuts through the moment. "Quinn, phone call, Mrs. Henderson." She walks away before she changes her mind, but the ache lingers. The next morning, she's cleaning the breakfast room when Mason appears with something clutched in his hand. Her stomach drops. The folder. Her sketch folder. The one she keeps buried under journals and tax forms in the bottom drawer of her art desk. The one filled with a younger Mason, shirtless, asleep, laughing. The version of him she never really let go. "I found these in my room," he says, voice unreadable. Her blood runs cold. "You weren't supposed to see those." "I didn't think you still had them." He holds out a drawing. This one. Me on the balcony reading. Quinn snatches the folder from his hand. "They're private." "You kept them?" "It doesn't mean anything." "It does." His voice is quiet, steady. "Why did you make so many portraits of me if—" "Oh, for crying out loud, Mason," Quinn snaps. "Like you needed any more proof of how much I loved you. Wasn't it obvious? I loved you so much it scared me. And then you left." Mason steps closer. "What about now?" he asks. Her mouth opens, but nothing comes out. "How do you feel now?" he presses. Her hands clench around the folder, her heart thundering. "What does it matter?" she whispers. He lifts a hand, cupping her cheek with aching gentleness. "It matters to me." Then he kisses her. No warning, no hesitation. It's 10 years of longing crashing into one breathless, desperate moment. His mouth claims hers, and she shatters. She drops the folder, pages scatter. Her hands bury themselves in his shirt, his hair. His arms wrap around her like they'll never let go again. She arches into him, gasping as his lips trail from her mouth to her jaw, then back again. It's reckless, messy, unforgivable. It's everything she's missed. Everything she still wants. And it's only the beginning. Chapter 10, Jeremy. "They kissed!" Eva whispers fiercely, bouncing on Jeremy's bed in human form. "They actually kissed in the breakfast room!" Jeremy looks up from his comic book, eyes wide. "How do you know? Did you see them?" "No, but I could smell it on my dad when he came back to his room." Eva taps her nose proudly. "Shifter senses, remember? He smelled like your mom's perfume and happiness." "Happiness has a smell?" Jeremy asks, amazed. "Duh." Eva rolls her eyes. "Everything has a smell, and my dad was practically covered in 'I just kissed someone I really like' scent." Jeremy scrunches his nose. Gross. But also awesome. Our plan worked. They high-five, grinning at each other like co-conspirators. "Operation Parent Trap was a total success," Eva declares. "The drawings were genius." "I still can't believe we did that," Jeremy admits. "Mom would kill me if she knew I went through her private stuff." "But she won't kill you," Eva points out, "because now she's too busy kissing my dad." They dissolve into giggles, quickly muffling the sound with pillows. Over the next few days, Jeremy and Eva watch with growing amusement as their parents attempt and fail to be discreet. From the safety of the hallway, they observe Quinn and Mason accidentally brushing hands while passing coffee in the breakfast room. They exchange knowing glances when both adults make excuses to check the storage closet at the same time. "They think they're being so sneaky," Eva whispers as they peek around the corner, watching Mason lean close to whisper something in Quinn's ear that makes her blush. "Mom literally wore lipstick to take out the trash yesterday," Jeremy snickers. "The trash? Because your dad was out chopping wood." "My dad changed his shirt 3 times before dinner," Eva counters. "I've never seen him care about clothes before." They retreat to Jeremy's room, collapsing in fits of laughter. "It's kind of weird, though," Jeremy admits once they've calmed down. "Seeing my mom all giggly I know, Eva nods solemnly. My dad actually smiled at breakfast, like with teeth showing. The pack would never believe it. Jeremy fiddles with his comic, a thought occurring to him. What happens when your dad eventually goes back to your pack? Will you go with him? Ava's smile fades. I don't know. I haven't thought about it. A silence falls between them, the reality of their situation suddenly intruding on their triumph. Maybe they'll fall in love for real, Jeremy suggests hopefully, and then we could all stay together. Eva brightens. My dad might even thank me instead of grounding me for running away. You think? Well, probably not, Eva concedes. But he might ground me for less time. Besides, I found him a mate. That's like super important for an alpha. And I found my mom someone who makes her happy, Jeremy adds. Someone who's not going to leave. Ava nods, but then tilts her head, her attention caught by something. Jeremy, your glasses. Jeremy's hand flies up to the frames, where the right side is held together with clear tape. What about them? They're broken. Ava scoots closer on the bed. Again, that's the second time this week. It's nothing, Jeremy mumbles, suddenly very interested in his comic book. Just got bumped in gym class. Ava's eyes narrow. You're lying. I can smell it. That's not fair, Jeremy protests. You can't use shifter powers to catch me in lies. Yes, I can, Eva insists, especially when you're hiding something important. Her expression softens. Jeremy, what happened? Jeremy sighs, setting his comic aside. It's just some guys at school. It's no big deal. They broke your glasses? Ava's voice rises indignantly. On purpose? Shh. Jeremy glances anxiously at his door. I said it's no big deal. It happens. It shouldn't happen, Eva says, her amber eyes flashing with anger. Who are they? What are their names? Just some fifth graders, Tommy Wilson and his friends. Jeremy shrugs, trying to appear casual. They're jerks to everyone. Why haven't you told your mom? Because she'd make a big deal out of it. She'd go to the school and talk to the principal, and then it would get worse. Jeremy fiddles with the tape on his glasses. Besides, she's happy right now. I don't want to ruin that. Eva growls, an actual growl that sounds distinctly wolf-like. This isn't right, Jeremy. In the pack, no one would dare treat you this way. Well, I'm not in a pack, Jeremy reminds her. You have to stand up for yourself, Eva says firmly. Some people only understand dominance. That's how it works in a pack. I'm not a shifter, Eva. Jeremy sighs. I can't exactly growl and show my teeth. So, you're still pack, Eva declares with such conviction that Jeremy blinks in surprise. You're my pack, and pack protects each other. I am? Jeremy asks, something warm unfurling in his chest. Of course you are, Eva says, as if it's the most obvious thing in the world. Being pack isn't just about being a shifter. It's about loyalty and trust and having each other's backs. Jeremy smiles, his throat suddenly tight with emotion. I've never been anyone's pack before. Well, you are now, Eva says decisively. She reaches out and squeezes his hand. But you're not alone anymore, Jeremy. You've got me. Jeremy squeezes back, a strange sense of relief washing over him. All his life, it's just been him and his mom against the world. Having someone else, having a pack, feels like having a family. Chapter 11, Quinn. Afternoon light filters through the curtains, casting a warm glow across Quinn's bedroom. She lies with her head on Mason's chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. I've missed this, he murmurs, pressing his lips to her forehead. Quinn chuckles. You saw me this morning, and last night, and yesterday afternoon in the supply closet. You know what I mean, Mason says softly. And she does. It's not just about these past few weeks of stolen moments and secret smiles. It's about the decade they lost, the life they might have had. Quinn props herself up on one elbow, studying his face in the warm light. There's a contentment there she hasn't seen before, as if some of the weight he carries has been temporarily lifted. "Why did you leave then?" she asks, the question that's been burning inside her since he reappeared. Really, what happened? Mason's expression shifts, the contentment fading. He takes a deep breath, his eyes fixed on the ceiling. "My family was in crisis. They needed me." "Does this have to do with what happened to Elliot?" Quinn asks gently. Mason tenses, his jaw clenching as he looks away. "Yes." Quinn waits for more, but Mason remains silent, his body suddenly rigid beside her. Frustration wells up inside her, always these walls, these secrets, but something in his expression stops her usual retort. There's pain there, raw and deep, and for once, Quinn chooses patience. She takes his hand, threading her fingers through his. "You don't have to tell me everything," she says softly. "But I would have liked to be there for you back then, and I'd like to be there for you now." Mason turns to her, gratitude and anguish warring in his eyes. "I know. I'm sorry." He brings their joined hands to his lips. "I want to tell you everything, but..." He trails off, looking torn, almost frightened. "What are you so afraid of?" Quinn asks. "Myself," Mason answers simply, his voice hollow. Quinn frowns, confused. "What does that mean?" Mason shakes his head, his expression so distraught that Quinn's heart aches for him. Whatever demons he's fighting, they're real enough to him. "Just promise you won't leave me again," she says instead. "Not like before. Not without explaining." "I promise," Mason says, meeting her eyes with an intensity that makes her breath catch. "Even when your daughter comes home?" "Yes," he nods, then with a small smile adds, "though who knows when that will be." Quinn studies him, noting how his body has relaxed at the mention of his daughter. "Any developments on that front?" "Not yet," Mason says, but there's something almost peaceful in his tone. "But I know where she is. I know she's safe, and she seems happy." "That's good," Quinn says, though something about his certainty puzzles her. "Thank you," Mason says suddenly, his amber eyes warm. "For what?" "For more than you know," he replies cryptically. Quinn glances at the clock and sighs, reluctantly disentangling herself from him. "I have to go. I want to surprise Jeremy and pick him up from school." She doesn't add that she's been worried about her son lately. The broken glasses, the way he changes the subject when she asks about his day. Mason watches her as she dresses, his expression unreadable. On impulse, Quinn turns to him. "Want to come with me?" Mason's eyebrows shoot up in surprise. "You want me to meet your son?" "Well, you've already met him," Quinn points out, buttoning her shirt. "Yes, but..." Mason looks almost shy, which seems ridiculous for a man of his presence. That's different. Quinn laughs, delighted by this unexpected vulnerability. "We could get ice cream afterward. You in or what?" A slow smile spreads across Mason's face. "Yes." "Great. We just need to pick up Fangs first," Quinn says, reaching for her shoes. "Don't worry, she's very well behaved around you lately." "She better be," Mason mutters. "What?" "Nothing," he says quickly, climbing out of bed. 40 minutes later, they're walking toward the elementary school, Fangs trotting obediently beside them. Quinn can't help noticing how attentive Mason is to the wolf, watching her every move with an almost paternal vigilance. Fangs, for her part, remains unusually still and quiet around Mason, though not aggressive. It's as if she's on her best behavior, or afraid to make a wrong move. "The school's just around this corner," Quinn says, her stomach fluttering with nerves. Of course it matters what Jeremy thinks of Mason. Her son has always been and will always be her priority. If Jeremy doesn't like Mason, well, he'd have time to get to know him better, but Quinn finds herself desperately hoping they'll connect. She wants her son to be happy, to feel comfortable with this new development in their lives. Suddenly, Fang stops walking, her ears perking up. The wolf tilts her head as if listening to something beyond human hearing, her body growing tense. "What's wrong with her?" Quinn asks, tightening her grip on the leash. Mason frowns, studying the wolf with concern. "I don't know." Fangs begins to whine, a high-pitched sound that sends chills down Quinn's spine. The wolf paws at the ground anxiously, her whole body quivering with barely contained energy. "She's never acted like this before," Quinn says, struggling to keep hold of the leash as Fangs begins to pull forward. "Something's wrong," Mason mutters, his expression darkening. "I'm sure he'll be—" Mason stops abruptly as Fangs suddenly bolts, yanking the leash from Quinn's hand. "Ava, no!" Quinn barely registers the strange name as they both break into a run after the wolf, who's sprinting toward a commotion on the far side of the playground. As they round the corner of the building, Quinn's heart drops. Jeremy is backed against the wall, surrounded by 3 larger boys. One of them, a bulky kid with a buzz cut, holds Jeremy's glasses just out of reach while the others laugh. "Give them back, Tommy," Jeremy's saying, his voice steady despite his obvious fear. "Make me, Four Eyes," the boy taunts. "Oh, wait, you can't even see without them, can you?" Fangs reaches them before Quinn and Mason do, launching herself at the bully with a ferocious growl. The boy screams as Fangs knocks him to the ground, standing over him with bared teeth, her hackles raised. "Fangs, no!" Jeremy cries, but the wolf ignores him, continuing to growl at the terrified boy. Mason surges forward. "Ava," he commands, his voice carrying a strange power that makes the hair on Quinn's arms stand up. "Stop. Now." To Quinn's astonishment, Fangs, or Eva, immediately backs off, her head lowering in submission. Mason grabs her by the scruff, his face drained of all color, his jaw clenched so tight Quinn can see a muscle jumping in his cheek. "How could you?" he hisses at the wolf, his voice low but edged with steel. "I taught you better than this. This boy is human. Do you understand what could have happened if I hadn't been here?" The wolf whimpers, cowering under his gaze, and Quinn is struck by how human the interaction seems, like a father reprimanding a child, not a man talking to an animal. "Mason?" Quinn calls, confusion swirling inside her. He doesn't seem to hear her. His entire focus is on the wolf. His hands are shaking as he lifts Fangs into his arms, his face a mask of barely controlled terror. Quinn rushes to Jeremy, pulling him away from the wall. "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" Her hands move frantically over his arms, his face checking for injuries. "I'm fine, Mom," Jeremy insists, though his voice shakes. "It wasn't a big deal." "It is a big deal," Quinn says, fury building inside her. She turns to the bully, who's scrambling to his feet. "Are you okay?" she asks, because she has to, because she's a responsible adult even when she wants to shake the kid until his teeth rattle. The boy nods, wide-eyed and pale, clutching Jeremy's glasses in his fist. Quinn holds out her hand, and he surrenders them immediately before backing away with his friends. When Quinn turns back to Mason, he's cradling Fangs in his arms, his expression stricken. The wolf is oddly docile, almost limp in his grasp. "What happened?" Quinn asks, but Mason isn't looking at her. Mason, wait, what's going on? What did you call her? Mason backs away, his face a mask of anguish. This was a mistake, he says, his voice hollow. I'm sorry, Quinn. What? Wait! Quinn calls as Mason turns and strides toward the parking lot. Where are you going? Mason! But he doesn't stop, doesn't look back, just places fangs in the passenger seat of a black SUV Quinn has never seen before and climbs in after her. Mason! Quinn shouts again, but the engine roars to life, and the car pulls away, leaving her standing in the schoolyard, holding Jeremy's broken glasses, her heart cracking open all over again. Mom! Jeremy's voice is small, frightened. What just happened? Quinn pulls her son close, watching the SUV disappear around the corner. I don't know, baby, she whispers, a cold certainty settling in her gut. But I have a very bad feeling about it. Chapter 12, Ava. It's been 24 hours since her father dragged Eva away from Jeremy, away from Quinn. 24 hours of whispers from the pack members, sideways glances, and her father's deafening silence. A tear slides down her cheek, followed by another. This is exactly why she ran away in the first place. At the inn with Jeremy and Quinn, she wasn't judged for being an imperfect shifter. They didn't care about protocol or pack politics or perfect control. They were just happy. A soft knock at the door makes Eva quickly wipe her tears away. Eva? Her father's voice is tentative, nothing like the commanding tone he'd used yesterday. Go away, she mutters, but not loudly enough to actually keep him out. The door opens, and Mason stands in the doorway, hesitating before stepping inside. He looks exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, his usually impeccable appearance rumpled. I'm sorry I didn't come sooner, he says quietly, approaching but not sitting, as if unsure of his welcome. I needed time. Ava shrugs, turning back to the window. Whatever. I also want to apologize for taking you away like that. Mason runs a hand through his hair. I felt I had no choice. When I saw you attack that boy, I wouldn't have harmed him, Eva interrupts, finally turning to look at her father. You don't know that, Mason snaps, his voice suddenly sharp. You weren't in control. Of course I was, Eva shoots back, standing up to face him. Mason's face darkens, a flash of genuine anger crossing his features. So you're telling me you intentionally attacked a human? Do you hear yourself? Have you forgotten the punishment for such a crime? He deserved it, Eva cries, her own anger bubbling up. He was bullying Jeremy. He broke his glasses and was laughing about it. Mason's mouth snaps shut, his jaw working as he processes this. Eva can see the conflict in his eyes, the protective instinct warring with his rigid adherence to pack law. See? Eva says, her voice breaking. You agree, don't you? You know I was right to defend him. Mason takes a deep breath, visibly gathering his composure. I understand you wanted to defend Jeremy, he says carefully. But using our powers against humans who have none, it isn't fair, Eva. Not only is it dangerous for the humans, but it risks exposing our entire pack, our entire kind. Ava drops her gaze, knowing there's truth in his words. I only wanted to scare him, she admits softly. I'd never have actually hurt him. Even so, her father says, his voice heavy with finality, I cannot allow you to continue seeing Jeremy. What? Ava gasps. But Dad, he's my best friend. Then you'll do what's right for him, Mason interrupts firmly. Humans are fragile, Eva. What about Jeremy's mom? Eva challenges, watching her father's face carefully. I know you like her, Dad. I saw you kissing. Mason grimaces, running a hand over his face. You saw that, did you? Of course I did, Ava says, crossing her arms. Mason sinks onto the edge of her bed, his shoulders slumping. It's wonderful that you made a friend, Eva. And yes, seeing Quinn again was... He pauses, searching for the right word. He doesn't find it. We can't be together, he says instead. It's not right. Dad, that's bullshit, Eva blurts out. Language, Mason snaps. Dad, that's crap, Eva corrects. We were so happy there. Why can't we go see them? I'm sure they miss us, or at least me. The weak attempt at humor falls flat. Her dad's eyes grow distant, as if seeing something far away. There's something you need to know, he says finally. Ava sits beside him, suddenly nervous. What is it? You know I wasn't always meant to be alpha, Mason begins. Your Uncle Elliot was the firstborn, the heir, groomed from childhood to lead the pack. Ava nods. Elliot was everything an alpha should be. Strong, controlled. Mason's voice grows strained. I idolized him, followed him everywhere. He pauses and Eva waits, barely breathing. When we were in our early 20s, Mason explains, Elliot had formed a friendship with a young woman from town, a human. Claire, her name was. He never told our father. It was forbidden, of course. Ava shifts closer. One night, Elliot and I were running in the woods when we heard screaming. Mason's face darkens with the memory. We found Claire being attacked by a group of men from town. They were drunk, holding her down, trying to... He pauses, jaw clenching, trying to hurt her. Ava's eyes widen with horror. Elliot lost control completely. Mason's voice grows hollow. He shifted, not partially, fully, right in front of them. He went for the leader's throat, tore it open in one bite. Eva gasps, her hand flying to her mouth. By the time I pulled him off, the man was dead. The others had fled. Mason swallows visibly. They saw everything, saw what we are. Oh my God, Eva breathes, realization dawning. Mason stares at his hands. We ran home, told our father what happened. The council was convened. And Eva presses when he falls silent. Mason's eyes meet hers, haunted with old pain. Elliot couldn't become alpha after that. He trails off, unable to continue. Where is Uncle Elliot now? Eva asks, her voice small. Was he banished? Mason doesn't answer at first, just shakes his head slightly. Dad, Eva insists. Where is he? Mason sighs. He's gone, Eva. He was executed for his crime. Eva gasps, horror washing over her. A human life was taken, Mason says, and there's only one punishment. That's not fair, Eva whispers, tears streaming down her face now. My father, your grandfather, died of a broken heart shortly after, Mason continues, his voice hollow. And suddenly, I was alpha. Not because I was ready, not because I was chosen, but because there was no one else. Ava throws her arms around her father and feels him trembling slightly as he returns the embrace. I'm so sorry, Dad, she sobs. I never wanted to burden you with this, Mason murmurs into her hair. I was trying to protect you. From what? Ava pulls back to look at him. From the weight of our history. His hand gently cups her cheek. You have to understand, Ava. My brother was the most controlled person I knew, and even he slipped. That's why I've been so strict with you about control. And that's why you left Quinn, Eva realizes, pieces falling into place. Mason nods, pain etching deeper lines around his eyes. When Elliot died and I became alpha, I knew I couldn't stay with her. What if I lost control? What if I hurt her? His gaze softens as it rests on Eva. And then, even after your mother, I couldn't risk exposing you to the human world, couldn't risk history repeating itself. But Dad, Eva protests, I would never. You already did, Mason reminds her gently. Yesterday, when you saw Jeremy being bullied, you lost control. You attacked a human boy. But I wouldn't have hurt him, Eva insists. Not really. Maybe not, Mason concedes. But the risk is too great, Eva. I will always, always look to protect you first and foremost, even from yourself if necessary. Eva leans against her father's shoulder, the fight gone out of her. She understands now. The fear in his eyes wasn't disappointment in her. It was terror at what might have happened, what they might have lost. So I guess I'm grounded, huh? She asks finally, her voice small. For running away? Absolutely, Mason confirms, but there's a hint of relief in his voice at the change of subject. For a very long time. And Jeremy and Quinn? Mason's arm tightens around her shoulders. It's better for everyone if we stay away, for their safety as much as ours. Eva curls into her father's embrace, feeling both comforted and heartbroken. She doesn't want to let her father down. Not now, when she finally understands what he's been carrying all these years. But as night falls over the pack house, the room feels too big, too quiet without Jeremy's constant questions and commentary. The bed too empty without Quinn checking in on them before turning out the lights. She misses the creaky floorboards of the inn, the smell of Quinn's coffee in the morning, the sound of Jeremy reading aloud from his latest comic book. She misses feeling normal, feeling accepted, not like the alpha's daughter with all those expectations, but just Eva. But now she understands why they can't go back. It's not just pack rules or her father's strictness. It's about protection. Protection for Jeremy, for Quinn, even for her father who's already lost so much. Chapter 13, Jeremy. A week. That's how long it's been since Eva and her father disappeared from Pine Haven. No more secret conversations, no more adventures, no more feeling like he finally belongs somewhere, with someone. But perhaps even worse is watching his mom try to pretend she's okay. Quinn smiles too brightly, laughs too loudly, and avoids any mention of Mason or Eva. But Jeremy knows better. He hears her crying at night when she thinks he's asleep. Now past midnight, Jeremy creeps down the hallway toward the soft sounds coming from his mother's studio. The door is cracked open, a sliver of light spilling onto the floor. Quinn sits cross-legged on the floor, holding a small photograph that Jeremy has never seen before. "Mom?" Jeremy whispers. Quinn starts, hastily wiping her eyes. "Hey, kiddo, what are you doing up?" "Couldn't sleep." Jeremy sits beside her on the floor. "Is that him?" Quinn looks down at the photo. For a moment, Jeremy thinks she might deny it, but instead, she hands it to him. "That was a long time ago," she says softly. "Before you." Jeremy studies the image. His mother looks different. Longer hair, wider smile, a lightness to her that he's never quite seen before. And Mason. He looks younger too. Less burdened somehow. "You loved him," Jeremy says. It isn't a question. Quinn sighs, gathering a few sketches into a loose pile. "You know what's funny?" she says. "When he came back into my life, I was furious. But somewhere along the way, I started to forgive him. Started to think maybe we could try again." She shakes her head. "I just wish I knew why he keeps running." Jeremy stares at his hands, guilt churning in his stomach. He knows why Mason left, because he's a shifter. But he's promised Eva he wouldn't tell. "I'm sorry, Mom," Jeremy says quietly. Quinn looks at him then, her eyes softening. "Oh, baby." She pulls him into a hug. "I've been so caught up in my own drama, I haven't even asked how you're doing without fangs." Jeremy swallows hard as Quinn strokes his hair. "Maybe we can find you another dog." "No." The word comes out sharper than he intends. "I don't want another dog." Quinn kisses the top of his head. "Come on, it's late. We both need sleep." But Jeremy can't sleep. He lies awake, staring at the ceiling in a room that feels too big without Eva. His mom must feel the same way, alone in her room without Eva's dad. If only there were a way to bring them back together. If only he could bridge the gap between the human and werewolf worlds. If only. The words echo as he tosses and turns. And now he needs the bathroom. With a sigh, he slips out of bed. The hallway is dark and still. He tiptoes across the wooden floor and slowly turns the bathroom doorknob, careful not to make a sound. But as he pushes the door open, a strange sensation hits, like walking through static. Jeremy blinks, momentarily blinded by daylight. When his vision clears, he gasps. He's not in the bathroom. He's in a narrow aisle between towering bookshelves, sunlight filtering through tall windows onto a worn wooden floor. "Hello?" he calls, his voice small in the cavernous space. No reply. It must be a dream, but the dust under his fingers feels real, too real. A soft creak echoes somewhere deeper in what he now realizes is a bookshop. Heart pounding, Jeremy moves toward a warm glow ahead. Turning the corner, he finds a young woman perched on a desk, flipping through a magazine. Her strawberry blonde hair is piled into a messy bun, and one ear bristles with piercings. She doesn't look up, just flips a page and sighs. Excuse me?" Jeremy ventures. The girl shrieks, hurling the magazine into the air. "Sorry, sorry!" Jeremy backs up, hands raised. "I didn't mean to scare you." The girl clutches her chest, glaring at him. "How did you even get in here?" "I don't know," Jeremy replies. "I opened the bathroom door and there I was." The girl's expression shifts from annoyance to interest. "Well," she comments, "life finds a way, I guess." Jeremy blinks at her, confused. "Jurassic Park?" the girl says, pointing to Jeremy's pajama shirt. "Thought you might have been a fan?" He blinks down, look at the large dinosaur on his shirt, then back up. "Oh, no, that was my mom's," he confesses, feeling himself blush. A deep man voice interrupts. "Iris, did you break something again? I heard shrieking." Jeremy feels a strange chill run down his spine when the man steps into view. He's impossibly tall and thin, with copper-colored hair that sticks up at odd angles, and eyes so green they seem to glow in the dim light. "Who's this?" the man says, his head tilting slightly. "A client," the girl Iris explains, "who's deceptively not a Jurassic Park fan." "What's a Jurassic Park?" the man asks, squinting his eyes. Iris gasps in outrage. "Okay, he's 8, so he's forgiven," she begins. "I'm 10, Jeremy butts in, going perfectly ignored. "But you, sir, have absolutely no excuse." "What's your name?" the man interrupts, turning to Jeremy. "Jeremy Davis." "Great, I'm Adrian, this is Iris." The man points to the blonde girl. "Now that we've met, you may go." Jeremy looks around, uneasy. "Go where?" he asks nervously. "I don't even know how I got here." Adrian gives Iris a glance. "What?" she tells him. He's in his pajamas, obviously. He didn't go through the front door. Adrian sighs, rubbing his eyelids. "Okay, kid," Iris says, turning back to Jeremy. "Let me break it down for you. You're in a magic shop. Adrian here practices magic." "Magic?" Jeremy gasps, curiosity overriding his nervousness briefly. What type of magic? Wishes, Adrian replies. Like this somehow makes sense. What? Jeremy asks because it really doesn't. I grant wishes, the man explains. The shop merely provides a meeting place. Wishes? Jeremy's eyes widen. Like any wish? Pretty much, yes, Adrian confirms. People like you arrive here when they truly desire something they cannot obtain through ordinary means. So, I wish to be here? Not precisely. You wished for a solution to a problem that seems insurmountable. Adrian's green eyes hold Jeremy's. And here you are. Jeremy thinks about his mom, about Eva and Mason, about the impossible distance between their worlds. Can you really grant any wish? There are limitations, Adrian says carefully, and consequences. He means there's a price, Iris interjects. A big one. He takes whatever you value most. Iris, Adrian sighs, perhaps a bit of tact. Whatever, Iris hops off the desk. Kid, listen. People come here desperate for things. Adrian grants their wishes, but in exchange, they lose what matters most to them. And it's never what they expect. Jeremy frowns. Like, if I wished for $1 million, you'd take something important from me? Yes, Adrian nods. And it's rarely a material possession. Usually it's like your ability to love or your memories of your dead grandma or something equally tragic, Iris adds. So, think twice before making a wish, and then don't make one. Go home. Jeremy considers this, a wish that could change everything, but at a terrible cost. I want to bring Eva back, he says slowly, and her dad. I want my mom to be happy again. Ah, Adrian's expression softens slightly. A family matter. You got that from his vague explanation? Iris whistles. Good on you, man. Adrian grins discreetly. Mason, that's Eva's dad. He left because he's afraid, Jeremy explains. Have them go to couples therapy, Iris offers. Jeremy shakes his head. He's a werewolf and my mom's human. He thinks it's too dangerous for them to be together. Adrian and Iris share a look. He's not entirely wrong, Adrian notes. Shifters and humans rarely mix well. But they love each other, Jeremy insists. And Eva's my best friend. That's nice, Adrian comments, tone blanc. But living among shifters could easily kill you. Jeremy stares at his hands, thinking hard. Eva did say a bite would kill us. His head snaps up, eyes wide with realization. Wait, could I wish for us to be werewolves too? Me and my mom? The room goes still. Adrian's face remains carefully blank, but something in his posture changes, becomes more alert. You could, he says reluctantly, but you shouldn't, Jeremy. Remember, I would take what's most precious to you in return. Jeremy opens his mouth to protest, but Iris intervenes. Look, kid, she says, leaning forward, couldn't your mom, find another nice single dad? Plenty of other fish in the sea and all that? Jeremy shakes his head firmly. No, she can't. She's loved Eva's dad since forever. It's true love. Would you give up on your true love? He asks, staring Iris in the eyes. She clears her throat awkwardly. And besides, Jeremy adds, there's only one Eva. He looks up at Adrian, determination hardening his features. To his surprise, the magician kneels down to eye level with him. All right, he says. Then I will tell you the price in advance. Beside him, Iris takes in a sharp breath. Adrian, she protests nervously, making Jeremy furrow his brows. It's fine, Adrian interrupts, giving her look. He turns back to Jeremy, stares him down, and then... What you value most, Jeremy Davis, is the hope of meeting your father someday. The words hang heavy in the air between them. His father? Jeremy swallows hard, thinking of the shadowy figure whose absence has shaped so much of his life, with more questions than answers. But he left before I was born, Jeremy murmurs. Nevertheless, you've held on to the hope that someday he might want to know you. Adrian's green eyes are eerily penetrating. If you make this wish, that possibility vanishes forever. Jeremy swallows. He didn't think he'd feel a sense of loss over never knowing his absent father, but there it is. Except, on top of the blurry image of some unknown man, comes Eva's sharp grin. His mother's warmth, the feel of her arms around him, and her joy. All of their joy these past few days, when Eva and Mason had still been with them. I want to make the wish, Jeremy murmurs. I don't need a dad who doesn't want me. I need my mom to be happy. I want us to have a real family, one who loves us back. Adrian nods resolutely. I could make it so that, if your mother chooses, a bite from a shifter would transform her safely rather than kill her. The same would apply to you. There would be no obstacle preventing you two from being with your shifter friends. Jeremy beams, but Adrian goes on. However, he holds up a warning finger, you might want to discuss this with her first. Ensure that she and Mason truly wish to reconcile. They will, Jeremy says. I know they will. He takes a deep breath. I wish that my mom and I could safely be turned into wolves shifters if we wanted to be with Eva and Mason. For a moment, nothing happens. Then Adrian closes his eyes, a shudder running through his too-thin frame. The shadows in the shop seem to deepen, to coil around him like hungry serpents. When he opens his eyes again, they glow with an unearthly light. Chapter 14, Quinn. Quinn wakes to silence. Jeremy is already at school, and the bed feels too big, too empty. The space where Mason once slept is cold. She pulls his pillow close, breathing in the fading scent of pine and winter storms, grief tightening in her chest. She rolls onto her back, staring at the ceiling, replaying Mason's departure. The terror in his eyes as he scooped up Fangs like it had been his all along. The way he muttered about mistakes. The stiff set of his shoulders as he drove away. Something had been wrong, panic that went deeper than anger. And Quinn can't stop asking, what scared him so badly? What was he hiding? With a sigh, she drags herself out of bed. Her reflection tells the story. Dark circles, tangled hair, a hollow kind of exhaustion. She scrubs her face, trying to summon a sense of normal before heading downstairs to face the day. But when she opens her door, she freezes. Fangs is there, sitting on the threshold, her sandy fur glowing in the morning light. The wolf tilts her head, amber eyes watching Quinn with an intelligence that seems more pronounced than ever. Oh my God, Quinn breathes, joy flooding through her. Fangs, you're back. She drops to her knees, throwing her arms around the wolf's neck. Fangs allows the embrace, her tail giving a tentative wag. Jeremy's going to be so happy, Quinn says, pulling back to scratch behind the wolf's ears. He's at school right now, but... Fangs makes a soft sound in her throat, not quite a growl, more like disagreement. Then, to Quinn's astonishment, the wolf pulls away and trots purposefully into the apartment. Hey, wait, Quinn calls, following. I just told you Jeremy isn't... But Fangs isn't looking for Jeremy. Instead, the wolf heads straight to his room, disappearing inside. Quinn hears the sound of a closet door opening, followed by rustling. Fangs, what are you doing? When she reaches Jeremy's doorway, Quinn watches as Fangs emerges from the closet with one of Jeremy's oversized sweaters clamped firmly in her jaws. The wolf looks directly at Quinn, then, Quinn screams. Where the wolf had been standing, there's now a small girl with wild red hair and bright blue eyes, clutching Jeremy's sweater to her chest like a makeshift dress. The transformation happens so quickly, so impossibly, that Quinn's mind simply refuses to process it. "Please don't be afraid," the girl says quickly. Quinn backs away, her brain desperately trying to make sense of what she's seeing. "You're not hallucinating," the girl assures her, taking a cautious step forward. "My name is Eva." Quinn's legs threaten to give out. "Ava? As in Mason's?" "His daughter, yes." The girl, Eva, nods enthusiastically. "I'm going crazy," Quinn whispers, sliding down to sit on the floor. "You're not crazy," Eva says, sitting cross-legged in front of her. "You can ask Jeremy when he gets home." "Jeremy," Quinn's voice cracks. "You've spoken to him before?" "Well, of course," Eva says. "I stayed with you guys for a while." Quinn presses her hands to her temples, trying to process this revelation. "You're telling me that all this time Fangs wasn't a wolf. She was you. A little girl who can turn into a wolf, and that my son has known this entire time?" "Yes," Eva confirms. Quinn stares at her, memories flooding back. How intelligent Fangs had seemed, how attached Jeremy had become to the wolf, how naturally Eva had fit into their lives. "My dad said it was dangerous," Eva continues, her expression turning serious. "And I promised him I wouldn't come back. But I had to say goodbye properly. And thank you." "Thank me?" Quinn repeats, still dazed. Eva nods. "For letting me stay, for being so kind to me, for making me feel like I could have had a real mom." Her voice wavers on the last word, and Quinn's heart clenches despite her confusion. "I would have loved for you to be my mom," Eva whispers, tears welling in her blue eyes. "And I think your paintings are beautiful. In another life, maybe you could have taught me." The tears spill over, and instinct overtakes shock. Quinn reaches out, gathering the crying child into her arms. Eva clings to her, her small body shaking with sobs. "Shh, it's okay," Quinn murmurs, stroking the girl's hair. "It's going to be okay." As Eva cries herself out, Quinn's mind races. "Does your father know?" she asks when Eva's sobs have quieted to sniffles. "That you're—" "Oh, yes," Eva nods, pulling back to wipe her eyes. "He can do it too." Quinn feels the world tilt again. Mason is a shifter, like me. Eva bites her lip. "Please don't tell him I told you. He'd be so mad, but I just wanted to explain why we had to leave." Quinn struggles to form words. Mason, her Mason, can transform into a wolf? The man she'd loved, who'd held her and kissed her, and then left without explanation, twice, had been hiding this the whole time. "So you've really been Fangs?" Quinn manages. "Living with us all this time?" Eva nods, a shy smile appearing. "But why is it dangerous?" Quinn asks, trying to understand. "Dangerous for who?" Ava's expression grows solemn. "If a werewolf bites a human, it kills them? That's what happened to my Uncle Elliot." Quinn's breath catches. "Elliot?" "He bit someone to protect a friend," Eva explains quietly. "The human died, and Elliot was executed for it. It broke my grandfather's heart, and he died too. That's when my dad had to become Alpha and leave you." The pieces fall into place with devastating clarity. Mason hadn't chosen his family over her. He'd been thrust into leadership during a tragedy, terrified of repeating his brother's mistake. "But he really didn't want to leave," Eva insists, seeing the understanding dawn in Quinn's eyes. "He loves you. He's been so sad without you." Quinn struggles to make sense of it all. Werewolves, executions, a hidden world woven into her own. It's overwhelming, but one thing is clear. She's uncovered something vital about Mason. Something that explains the shadows in his eyes, the distance he kept, even in their closest moments. And somehow, that knowledge softens her anger. The betrayal she's carried for 10 years shifts into something deeper. Empathy, understanding, and a sorrow for what they both lost to forces beyond their control. Eva's eyes fill with fresh tears and Quinn pulls her close. "I'd like to say goodbye to your father, too," she says gently. "Let me take you home." Ava sniffs. "You promise not to tell him I told you?" "I promise." They're just standing up when there's a knock at the door. Quinn opens it and finds herself face to face with Mason, his amber eyes wide with shock. And beside him stands Jeremy, looking both nervous and determined. For a moment, nobody moves. They just stare at each other, Quinn and Mason locked in a gaze that holds too many emotions to name, while Jeremy and Eva grin at each other like co-conspirators. "I have your kid," Mason says finally, his voice rough. "And I have yours," Quinn replies weakly. They continue staring, the air between them crackling with unspoken feelings. Then, simultaneously, "About your brother," Quinn begins. "I shouldn't have left the way I did," Mason says. They both freeze. "I think I understand why you did," Quinn says quietly. Mason's face tightens. "I don't think you do." "She does, Dad," Eva pipes up. "I told her." "What?" Mason looks between his daughter and Quinn, more confused than angry. Quinn reaches out, taking his hand and squeezing it gently. "Is it true?" she asks, her voice barely above a whisper. Mason searches her face, understanding what she's asking. His shoulders slump slightly. "Yes," he admits. "It's true." Quinn nods slowly, the weight of his secrets finally making sense. The fear, the distance, the sudden departures, it all stems from this enormous truth he's been carrying alone. "So many times I wanted to tell you," Mason says, his voice breaking. "I was going to leave my pack, my family, everything for you. But then—" "Elliot," Quinn finishes softly. "Yes." Mason's grip on her hand tightens. "It's delicate enough telling a human about our kind, but to tell you and then just leave you, He stops, swallows hard. "But mostly, Quinn, I just didn't trust myself with you. I still don't. Especially now that you have a child." "Because it's too risky?" Tears spill down Quinn's cheeks as the full implications hit her. She doesn't want to risk Jeremy's life, no matter how much she loves Mason. "Well, about that," Jeremy interrupts, stepping forward with a confidence Quinn's never seen before. "I actually fixed it." "What?" Quinn and Mason say in unison. "You fixed it?" Ava shouts, her face lighting up with immediate belief and excitement. Jeremy nods, a small smile playing at his lips. "I met this guy, a magician named Adrian. He grants wishes but takes something important in return. I wish that Mom and I could be turned safely into werewolves if we wanted to." "Oh my God," Eva screams, literally bouncing with joy. "Jeremy, you genius!" "You made a conditional life-altering wish to some unknown dark magician without telling us?" Mason's voice rises with a mixture of horror and something else, something that sounds suspiciously like paternal concern. "Well, yeah," Jeremy shrugs. "But it's great because now we can be a family. Mom can be with you, and I know you love him, so I did it for you." Quinn's mind reels with the implications. Her 10-year-old son has made a magical bargain to solve their supernatural relationship problems. It's absurd, terrifying, and somehow perfectly Jeremy. She and Mason share a look. Just a glance. but it carries everything. Love, hope, the promise of possibilities she'd never dared imagine. A warmth spreads through her chest, fragile and wonderful. But above all this newfound hope, there's one overwhelming emotion, absolute, unadulterated anger. "Jeremy Davis!" Quinn exclaims, her voice carrying the full force of maternal fury. "You are in very big trouble." Chapter 15, Jeremy. "I can't believe they grounded you," Eva complains, pacing across Jeremy's room. "You literally solved all our problems. You're a literal hero. Parents are so ungrateful." Jeremy shrugs from his perch on the windowsill. "It's okay. It was worth it." Ava shouldn't be here. She was supposed to stay downstairs while the adults talked, but she'd snuck up the moment no one was looking. Now they sit together, watching their parents in the garden below. Mason and Quinn stand close, hands intertwined, heads bent together as they whisper. They look happy, Jeremy thinks, or at least they're getting there. Happiness is complicated for adults, but this seems like a good start. "You think we're going to stay together from now on?" Eva asks softly. "I hope so," Jeremy grins. "Can't wait to be a shifter." "Oh, I'll teach you everything." Eva bounces excitedly. "How to track scents, how to run super fast." Her excitement fades suddenly, like a light being switched off. She goes very still, her usual animated expression replaced by something more serious. "Jeremy," she starts, then stops. For a long moment, she just stares at her hands, picking at a loose thread on Jeremy's bedspread. Then, "The magician, when you made the wish, what did you trade for it?" she finally asks, her voice barely above a whisper. "You said he takes what matters most to you." Jeremy's quiet for a moment, watching a bird hop along the garden fence below. "The possibility of seeing my father again." Ava's eyes widen, genuine shock replacing her hesitation. Her mouth opens, closes, opens again. "But," she swallows hard, "that's your father, Jeremy. Doesn't it make you sad?" "A little," Jeremy admits. "But I guess he's not really my father, is he? He left." He watches the garden below. "My mom's my parent," he concludes. "Though I do hope one day I do know what having a dad feels like." He trails off, still watching Mason laugh at something Quinn says. Eva's quiet for a long moment, then throws herself at Jeremy in a fierce hug. "Thank you," she whispers. He hugs her back just as tight. When they look out the window again, their parents are kissing. "You," they chorus, then dissolve into giggles. "We actually did it," Eva whispers, her eyes shining. Jeremy grins. They really did. Epilogue. The garden behind the inn is unrecognizable from a year ago. Twinkling lights wrap every branch. White roses bloom impossibly late for October, and rows of chairs face the arch where Quinn just pledged forever to the man she never truly stopped loving. Now, as the pack celebrates their alpha's wedding with music and dancing, Quinn finds herself alone with Mason in their bedroom, nerves thrumming for an entirely different reason. "You're sure about this?" Mason asks for the 100th time, pacing. His shirt is unbuttoned, his hair tousled from anxious fingers. Quinn steps in, placing her hands on his chest. The gold band on her finger catches the moonlight. "We've discussed this endlessly, Mason, I'm sure. A year of healing, of rebuilding trust, introducing Jeremy to pack life, and letting old wounds mend. They've chosen this future. But what if... We met with the magician again, and he assured it would work," she reminds him. "You even spoke to others who used his magic. It's going to be okay." His amber eyes darken. "Quinn, I can't bear the thought of hurting you." She cups his face. This is for us, for our family. Jeremy's already asking when it's his turn. Eva's planned their first run together. The mention of their children softens him. Jeremy and Eva are inseparable, true siblings. Jeremy thrives under Mason's attention, growing bolder with each shared interest, while Eva and Quinn spend hours painting in the studio, wild with creativity. They're already a family. This is just the final step. I love you, Quinn whispers. Trust in that. Mason closes his eyes. When he opens them, the wolf glimmers behind them. I love you too, more than I ever thought possible. He kisses her, deep, tender, full of promises. When he pulls back, fangs show and his eyes glow gold. Quinn lies back, throat exposed. Her heart races with anticipation, not fear. Do it, she breathes. He nuzzles her neck before biting. The pain steals her breath, fire in her veins, bones shifting, muscles tearing and reforming. Mason's voice soothes her through it all. Then transformation. She blinks, now on all fours. Her body is powerful, covered in thick fur. Every sense is heightened. The scent of cake, the skitter of mice, music vibrating through the floor. A soft whine escapes. In the mirror, she sees a silver-streaked wolf with Quinn's eyes. Her tail flicks instinctively, expressing emotions she hadn't even processed yet. Notably, strangely, it's like she can suddenly feels Mason, not just beside her, but inside her mind. His love washes over her like warm sunlight, along with echoes of his fear, his joy, his overwhelming relief that she's survived the change. What is this, she thinks. The mate bond, he answers. We'll complete it later. First, you need to run. They slip into the night, two wolves racing beneath the full moon. Quinn revels in the freedom, Mason beside her. When they return, breathless and glowing with moonlight, they shift back. Quinn stands before Mason, the bond pulsing between them. How do you feel? He asks. Alive, she breathes, more alive than I've ever been. She steps closer, fingertips tracing his chest, hearts pounding in sync. Quinn, he murmurs, catching her hand. We don't have to. I want to, she interrupts. I want all of you, Mason. No more barriers, just us. She kisses him, slow and deep, then pulls back with a glint in her eyes. My turn, she whispers. She kisses down his neck. He shudders, groans. His hands tangle in her hair. Do it, he breathes. She bites, tasting copper and magic. He gasps, part pain, part pleasure. The bond ignites, thoughts and emotions merging. I love you, she thinks, feeling his answering flood of devotion. When she pulls back, Mason cups her face, eyes glowing with fierce love. Forever, he says, sealing it with another kiss. Forever, she echoes. Downstairs, Jeremy and Eva laugh, the pack still celebrating. Her family, her pack, her future. Quinn Davis, Luna of the Pine Haven pack, smiles against her mate's shoulder. They finally found their happily ever after. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider supporting me and the channel by liking it or leaving a comment. This story was inspired by a request from a listener who wanted a story starring a single mom. Don't hesitate to send me your ideas or requests for what you'd like to see next. It truly inspires me.